Episode 18, Becoming the Shelter When a Friend Comes Home. Content warning and disclaimer.
Before we begin today's episode, just a reminder, this podcast talks about openly about my mental health, trauma, depression, anxiety, and emotional distress. If you have not had headspace to hear that right now, or if anything we discuss brings up difficult feelings, please take a break, come back later, or talk to someone, or even myself. You know the emails at the end.
We also want to make it clear, Scott and I aren't doctors. We're not psychologists or therapists. We're just two blokes having a real honest yarn about mental health, our experiences, and what it means to live with the shadows. This is not medical advice. This is real talk from real people who've walked through it.
Exactly. We speak from our pain, our survival, our laughter, and our healing. And if even one listener out there feels less alone because of it, that's all we need. All right, let's dive in. This episode's different, and I want to be real with you right from the start. There's no dramatic build-up, no clever introduction, just this someone I care deeply about, a brother in struggling, a man who's walked through the same kind of storms I faced, is coming here to stay with me, not just to crash for the night, but to breathe again, to find some peace, and maybe, just maybe, find himself again. This episode is about my dear friend Brett. This is more than just his story or mine. It's a moment we all need to understand what it means to be seen, to reach out, and to be the one someone reaches for. Brett has been through hell for 20 years with someone, and now he's alone. Not just alone, lost, heartbroken, mentally torn apart, and yet he reached out. He texted me. I want to share something he wrote, because these aren't just words. They're the sound of someone standing out on the edge, just trying to hold on. He said, "Feel sick. I'm trying to believe there is better. I swear, but it's hard to be positive." And that hit home, because I remember that sick feeling, the darkness that crawls up from your stomach and strangles you, strangles your chest. That exact moment where you're trying to believe there's better, but you don't know if it's even there. So I wrote back, "Brett, the light is there, my bro. You just have to keep that candle going till we get up here." That's what I told him. Keep the candle going. Just a flicker. Just enough to push through. And he replied, sort of, with a smiley face. Like, even the darkest darkness, there was still this tiny ember of hope trying to survive. Later he told me he was only holding on for one more day, he said. One day max, so push through and okay? Thank you. I told him, just push through today. That's all you got to do. And then come the moment, the one that broke my heart and made me so proud at the same time. He said, "I'm a effing mess. You sure I won't bring you down?" And I answered with every ounce of my heart, "No way. Not at all. It's going to be okay. Just get here, get through this part, and once you're here, you'll be able to stop, take a deep breath, and relax. After that, if you want, we'll have a chat. I'm all ears. But until then, I'm here. Phones, always open, always on. And then he said, okay, I'm just trying to make sure you understand I'm a blubbering mess. And I told him the truth. Thank you. I've been there myself, bro. We all have. You're taking the biggest step already, admitting you're a mess. That's not weakness. That's courage. That's huge. It took me 40 years to do that. You did it in one day. In a day. That's not a mess. That's a miracle in progress.
That gave me goosebumps, man.
This isn't just about Brett and me. This is about anyone out there who's even been on either side of that message thread. The one who's falling apart, or the one being reached for. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say, yes, come here. You're not a burden. You're safe. I've got you. This house of mine, it used to be a bunker, a place I shut the world out. But now it's become a shelter. Because when you survive your own storm, you don't forget what it felt like. And if you're lucky enough to still understand, you build a roof for someone else. This episode is for Brett. It's for every Brett, every soul who's been afraid to knock. And for every Scott who finally says, mate, the door's open, come home. So here I am, sitting in my house, looking around and knowing that any minute now, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, Brett is going to walk through the door. Right now, he's in Sydney, still figuring out the last stretch, still carrying on that weight. And I can feel it like a pulse through the phone. You know, that kind of silence where you don't even need words, where you could just feel someone clenching every muscle to hold it together. Yeah, that's where he is right now. And me, I'm here, doing what I never imagined I would do, getting a place ready for someone else's pain, folding sheets, shifting things around, making space. But not just on the couch, in me, in my head, in my heart. Because I know the minute he steps through that door, everything changes. Not in a bad way, not in a scary way, but in a real way. You see, I'll live most of my life with the door closed, emotionally and physically. I've had people leave, I've had people die, I've been left to sit in the echo of my own mind. And that teaches you to keep your space protected, even from the people you love. So when someone says, can I come? And I say, yes, I'll be here. It's not just about giving someone a roof. It's about offering shelter from the storm, mine and Brett's.
That's the thing, mate. People think opening your home is about blankets and spare pillows, but it's so much more than that. You're opening your energy, your rhythm, your space of survival, and in your case, you're opening the place where you've cried, collapsed, rebuilt, screamed into pillows, avoided the door, fought Bob, battled shame, and found pieces of peace. Now you're saying, come in, sit here. There's room for your story too. That's not small, that's massive.
It's funny. I keep walking past the spare bed and catching myself checking things twice. Like, is this good enough? Is the room warm enough? Will he feel safe here? But it's not really about the doona, is it? It's about whether he'll feel like someone actually gives a shit. And I do. I really do. And yeah, I'm nervous because I know what mental health can do to a man. I know the kind of silence that sits beside you like a ghost. I know what it means to have nothing left and to sit and to still feel like a burden when someone finally offers you something. He said in his message, I'm just trying to make sure you understand I'm a mess. And I said, I've been there. You're not a bother. You're brave. But even as I said it, I could hear my own voice shaking because I've never done this before. Not like this. Not as not as a strong one. Not as the shelter.
And yet, here you are. You are the shelter now, Scott. You've lived in storms, mate. So, you know what it sounds like when someone's about to break. You hear it in the pauses between texts. You hear it in the way someone apologizes just for existing. And that's why you're the right person to do this. Not because you're perfect, not because you've got it all together, but because you understand.
I do. I really do. There's this hum in the air right now, like stillness before someone knocks. And I'm sitting it, not afraid, just aware. Aware that when he gets here, it won't be fireworks. It won't be some big emotional moment. It'll probably just be a bag drop at the door and a look and quiet. Thanks, bro. And that'll be enough because sometimes healing starts with a couch or a soft doona, with someone saying, it's okay. Just be. You don't have to speak yet. And when Brett gets here, that's what I'll give him, a safe place to just, I want to talk honestly for a second about something that's not enough people admit. Sometimes being the strong one sucks. And I don't mean that in a bitter way. I don't regret saying yes to Brett, not for a second. But I've got to be real with you. When someone turns to you for help, especially in a mental health crisis, there's this quiet pressure that builds. This voice that whispers, you've got to be solid now. You've got to keep it together. You're not allowed to fall apart. Not while he's falling. And that voice, yeah, that's Bob the botherer again. It comes creeping back in the morning, this morning, while I was making toast. I hadn't even had my first coffee, and Bob's already in my head going, you sure you're ready for this, Scott? You sure you're not going to make things worse? What if he says how broken you still are? What if you failed him like you failed yourself back then? And I had to stop I put the butter knife down, leaned on the bench, and took a deep breath. Because Bob's a liar. And I've learnt the strength isn't about being unshakable. It's about being present. Even when you're scared. Even when your own knees are trembling.
That's something people don't talk about enough. The way anxiety disguises itself as responsibility. Like, it doesn't always come at you screaming, "You're not good enough." Sometimes it sneaks in sounding helpful, like Bob saying, "Hey, let's just worry about all the worst case scenarios, just to be safe."
Exactly, Michael. Bob doesn't always show up wearing devil horns. Sometimes he wears a name badge that says, Helpful Advisor. But his goal is always the same, to freeze me, to make me feel like I'm not ready, like I need to be perfect before I can be useful. But here's what I know now. I don't have to be perfect to help someone. I just have to be present. You want to know the real truth? Last night, I cried. Sat in the shower, just letting the water hit me, while my brain tried to hide back everything I've been bottling up. Because I'm not just making room in my house, I'm making room in my heart. And that hurts. Sometimes it hurts because I've spent so long just trying to keep myself together that letting someone in feels like reopening wounds that I thought was already scarred over.
That's what makes this so powerful, mate. You're not just creating a safe space for Brett. You're showing our listeners what it looks like to be human while holding space for someone else. You're allowed to feel all of it, the fear, the love, the pressure, the doubt, and still show up.
Yeah, and I've realized that strength doesn't mean being unshakable. It means being willing to stand there shaking and still open the door anyway. This podcast, it's started as my voice in the dark, a way for me to tell my story and try to find light. Now it's becoming something more. It's about the moments when we become the light for someone else, even while we're still flickering ourselves. So, yeah, Bob had his little whisper moment, and yeah, I felt scared, but I'm still here, and that matters. I'm still saying yes. And when Brett knocks on that door, I'll open it, even if I'm shaking. You know what I've been thinking about? Silence. Not the kind that makes you uncomfortable or the awkward pauses in a conversation. I'm talking about real silence, the kind that creeps in when someone's hurting too much to talk, the kind of silence that hangs heavy in a room, not because there's nothing to say, but because saying anything would shatter something fragile. That's the silence I'm preparing for, because Brett's a quiet soul. He always has been. He's not the type to rant or unload in paragraphs like I do. He's the type who feels everything so deeply that it's almost like talking about it would make it too real. And I respect that, I really do. But that kind of silence, it can also be dangerous, because inside that silence, the mind can start filling in the blanks with shame, guilt, and every lie anxiety wants you to believe. You're a burden. You've failed. You should be stronger. No one wants you here. And so I'm preparing not just to talk to Brett when he gets here, I'm preparing to sit beside him, even if he says nothing, because silence is still a language. It says, I'm hurting. It says, I'm scared to fall apart because I might not come back. It says, please don't ask too much of me right now. And I get that. I really deeply get that.
Mate, that level of awareness, that's the kind of thing that saves people. So many of us are raised with this belief that we need to talk everything out. And talking's important, yeah. But sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just be there. Like literally sit in the same room and let someone know, without a single word, that they're not alone. You're not pushing him. You're not fixing him. You're just saying, you can sit here exactly as you are, and it's okay.
That's it. That's all I want him to feel. I don't care if we sit in complete silence for hours. If he wants to cry, cry. If he wants to sleep, sleep. If he just wants to watch some dumb YouTube videos and not talk at all, I'm down. I'm not here to be his therapist. I'm not here to give him motivational speeches. I'm here to say, you've landed. You're safe. You don't owe me words. And you know what else? I want listeners to hear this too, because some of you might be supporting someone right now, a friend, a partner, a sibling, and you're not sure what to do. You keep wondering, should I say something? Should I ask more questions? Should I push them to open up? Let me tell you, sometimes just being there is enough. Your presence says what your words can't. It says, I'm not afraid of your silence. You don't need to perform your pain for me. I'm not going anywhere.
That's what love looks like when it's stripped down. Not the loud, showy kind, but the quiet, loyal kind that sits beside you while the world inside you is crumbling.
Exactly. That's what I'm preparing for. Not just a visit, not just a house guest, but the arrival of someone who's survived a storm and needs somewhere soft to land. And if silence is all he's got right now, then I'll hold it for him. You know what's heavier than trauma sometimes? Trust. When someone's been through hell, when they've been dragged through 20 years of emotional knots, silent pain, and shattered hope, and then they turn around, reach out and say, can I come stay with you? That's not just a question about space. That's a question about faith, about whether the world still has one person who won't let them down, whether you're safe, whether you will be the exception. And when Brett asked me that, I felt it. Not just the responsibility, but the honor of it. Because asking for help when you're in that kind of pain, that's harder than anything else. He could have curled up. He could have stayed on the streets. He could have disappeared, and no one would have judged him for that. But instead, he reached out, quietly, awkwardly, honestly. And what he gave me in that moment, without even realizing, was trust. The kind of trust that says, I don't know what's going to happen next, but I trust you to be there when I fall. That broke me in the best way.
You know what, mate? That kind of trust is rare, especially between blokes. We don't always get raised to show each other that kind of vulnerability. We're taught to drink it down, laugh it off, walk it off, shove it somewhere deep and never bring it up again. But what Brett did, that wasn't weak, that was warrior-level courage. He let himself be seen, in his mess, in his hurt, in his darkest, scariest moment. He chose you.
That's the part that hit me the hardest. It wasn't just that he needed a place to stay. It's that he picked me to be the one who'd understand. And he said, you sure I won't bring you down? And what he didn't realize is I've already been down. I've been in that pit. I've sat with my own version of him in the mirror. And because of that, I'm not scared of his pain. I'm not afraid of his silence. I'm not rattled by his mess. Because when you've carried your own brokenness long enough, you start to see the cracks in others not as flaws, but as familiarity.
You see them and go, ah, yeah, I know that fracture. I've got that one too.
Exactly. So when Brett handed me that weight, that trust, I didn't flinch. I just wrapped my arms around it like it was something sacred, because it is. You don't get many chances in life to be someone's safety net, and when it comes, you better bloody take it seriously, because if someone hands you their raw pain and you fumble it, you could confirm every fear they ever had about people. But if you hold it, if you say, oh, I've got you, and you mean it, then that's where healing starts. Not with advice, not with fixing, but with someone saying, I believe you, I see you, and I'm not going anywhere. So that's what I'm doing. And that's what this whole episode is about. Not just helping a friend, but honoring the trust that comes with it. There's this thing that happens when you support someone going through mental health struggles, and especially when they're close to you. You start seeing yourself in their pain, not in a selfish way, not in a this is about me too kind of way, but in a quiet, reflective way, like looking into a foggy mirror and realizing you've been there. You know that look in their eyes, the one that doesn't quite focus. You know that slump in the shoulders, the way they sit on the edge of a bed like the weight of their own mind is just too much. You know the apology that comes before every sentence. Sorry, I'm being like this. You know the silence that isn't peaceful. It's full of screaming thoughts they don't know how to say. And it hits you because that was you.
That's where the real empathy lives, I reckon, in that recognition, that gut level knowing. Like, you don't have to ask, are you okay? Because you can already feel that they're not. And sometimes just saying, I've felt this too, is more powerful than any solution you could offer.
Absolutely. And here's the thing, when I look at Brett, even though he's not here yet, I already know he's not just a guest, he's a reflection. He's the part of me that needed someone all those years ago, the version of me that was too scared to ask, too broken to speak, too convinced that being seen would equal being abandoned. So when he reached out and said, I'm a mess, I didn't just hear his words. I heard mine from the past, from the worst nights, from the times I sat on the floor wondering if anyone would ever understand.
And now you get to be the person you needed back then. That's massive, mate. That's healing in action. Not just for Brett, but for you too.
That's what I realized. Helping someone doesn't just lift them out of the pit, it reminds you of how far you've climbed. And when you look at them with love instead of judgment, you're also looking back at your old self with a little more compassion, like, maybe I'm not as broken as I thought. Maybe I'm someone who can sit with another person's pain without falling apart myself. Maybe I've grown. I still struggle. I still cry. I still get caught up in fear and shame and doubt, but I can hold space now. I can say, you're safe here, and actually mean it, because someone once said it to me, even if it was just in a dream or a memory or a moment I didn't know I needed.
I think that's something a lot of our listeners can take away too. You might not think you're doing enough. You might think you're still broken, still in the middle of your healing, but you'd be surprised how much light you carry, even when you can't see it yourself. You never know who sees your survival as their hope.
Exactly. And for anyone listening right now, maybe you are someone's Brett. Maybe you're the one about to knock on a door, scared to be seen, or maybe you're the one who needs to become the shelter. Either way, just know this: you're not alone. And no matter how much of a mess you think you are, there's still love in you. There's still light. You are not a bother. You are not too far gone. You are human, and that's enough. I was sitting in the lounge earlier just looking at the couch. It's the same couch I've sat on during breakdowns, during panic attacks, during those nights where the walls felt like they were closing in. And I looked at it and thought, that's where Brett's going to sit, not just physically, but emotionally. That couch is going to carry more than just weight. It's going to carry history, his and mine. It's going to hold all the unsaid things, all the shame, the grief, the exhausted silence. That couch is going to hear things we'll never say out loud. And you know what? That's sacred. That's an unspoken contract between two blokes, between two survivors.
Mate, that hits deep. Because when someone enters your home in that state, they're not looking for luxury. They're not checking the thread count or if you've got the latest throw cushions. They're looking for safety, emotional, mental, spiritual safety. And sometimes that comes in the form of a couch that's seen a few battles and still holds space for another one.
Exactly. I even went and bought coffee, not fancy stuff, just the kind he likes, because that's what you do when someone's broken and showing up on your doorstep. You don't try to impress them, you try to understand them. You create little pockets of comfort, even if they don't say anything. A warm mug, a clean towel, a soft doona, a quiet room with the door cracked open so they know they're not alone. And in all of that, there's an agreement, one that doesn't need signing, one that says, I'm not here to fix you, but I will not abandon you. Yeah,
That's the kind of love that saves lives, mate. The kind that says, I see your mess and I'm not looking away.
it's funny because in the past, I was the one on the couch. I was the one too tired to talk, too hollow to laugh. And all I wanted was for someone to not panic when I wasn't okay. That's what I'm giving Brett. That's what I want people listening to give someone in their life too. Not solutions, but presence. And maybe when we both sit there in silence, sipping coffee, scrolling on our phones, or just watching crap TV, maybe that's enough. Because there's healing in the ordinary, in showing up without needing to be anything other than here.
And that's the power of what you're doing, Scott. You're not just opening your home, you're offering a living, breathing, silent understanding. And that's what most people need when they're lost. Not advice, not lectures, just a couch, a coffee, and someone who says, stay. You're safe now.
That's it. That's all I want him to feel. And if he never says a word about what happened, that's okay too. He doesn't owe me that. He's already given me the biggest thing of all, his trust. There's a hard truth I had to learn over the years, especially when it comes to mental health and supporting someone who's hurting. And it's this: you can't save anyone. I know that sounds heavy, maybe even a bit hopeless, but it's actually not. In fact, it's one of the most freeing things I've ever learned. Because when someone you care about is falling apart, every instinct in you wants to fix it. You want to jump in, scoop up the broken pieces, glue them back together and say, it's okay now, I fixed it, you're all right. But that's not how healing works. You can't save someone from their pain, but you can sit with them in it. You can say, you're not alone in this. You can say, I've been there. You can sit on the floor next to them and not run when it gets dark. And that's what I'm reminding myself as I wait for Brett to arrive.
That's such a powerful mindset shift, moving from rescuer to companion. Because when you try to save someone, you're accidentally putting yourself above them. Like, you've got the answers and they're broken. But when you sit beside them, you say, we're equals. I don't have the map either, but I'll walk with you.
Exactly. And it's not easy, especially when you care, especially when you've been in their shoes and you know how dark that road can get. It's natural to want to take shortcuts for them, to say, no, no, don't go that way. I know where that leads. But part of healing is walking it yourself, not alone, but with someone beside you who doesn't interrupt your journey, just walks next to you quietly, with love. I've had to check myself a few times already, even just in the prep. Like, I caught myself writing out what I'd say to Brett if he opens up. I was planning the perfect response, the right quote, the right moment, and then I stopped, because this isn't about scripts, this is about showing up.
Man, that's a big one. Learning to hold space instead of fill it. Letting there be silence. Letting them lead. Trusting that their process, as messy as it is valid.
Absolutely. Brett doesn't need me to be a savior. He doesn't need me to be perfect. He needs someone who's just not going to leave when things get uncomfortable. He needs someone who can sit with pain without trying to paint over it. That's what I'm preparing for. Not to save him, but to stay with him. And you know what? That's enough. If you're listening to this and you're supporting someone in pain, please hear this. You don't have to have the answers. You just have to stay. That's how we help each other, not with solutions, with presence. Let's talk about something that doesn't get talked about enough, especially among blokes like me and Brett: masculinity, and what happens when it collides head on with vulnerability. Because here's the truth: men are raised to be strong, not the kind of strength that means showing up emotionally. I'm talking about the kind of strength that means staying silent, pushing through, not crying, not asking, not feeling. Brett's been through 2 decades of that, 20 years in a relationship where, like a lot of us, he probably learned to keep it all bottled up, smile when it hurts, don't make a fuss, don't show weakness. And now he's cracked, not because he's weak, but because he finally can't pretend anymore. And I've been there. God, I've lived there. That moment when your whole identity, the version of you that everyone else saw, falls apart, and you're left staring in the mirror asking, if I'm not holding everything together, then who am I?
It's like masculinity gets tangled up with shame, as if being human, crying, asking for help, needing a place to fall, somehow makes you less of a man. But the truth? It's the opposite. It takes guts to admit you're struggling. It takes courage to say, I can't do this alone anymore.
Absolutely. And when Brett texted me, I could feel how hard it was for him to write those words. He kept apologizing, kept saying things like, I'm sorry I'm a bother, I'm a mess, I hate that I'm doing this to you. And I just wanted to reach through the screen and hug him, not because he needed fixing, but because he needed permission. Permission to just be a bloke who's hurting, not a weak man, not a broken man, just a human being in pain. And I said to him, what I want to say to every man out there listening right now, you're allowed to fall apart. You're allowed to not be okay. You're allowed to ask for help and still be a man.
We've got to start normalizing that, especially in small towns, especially in working class spaces, especially with men who've spent a lifetime being told to man up every time they show emotion. Because that's how we lose good men, not to weakness, but to silence.
Exactly. That's why this moment, Brett's coming here trusting me, letting himself need someone. It's not just about a couch or a breakup. It's about rewriting what it means to be strong. And I'm proud of him, even if he doesn't feel proud of himself yet. Because what he did, asking for help, saying, I'm not okay, that's the kind of strength most people never learn. And maybe by showing up for him, I'm finally showing up for that younger version of myself too. The boy who didn't know he was allowed to cry, the man who thought love meant never needing anyone. Maybe we're both learning that now. All right, let's talk about Bob again. Because, of course, he showed up, not in the dramatic way this time, not yelling in my head or waving a flag, but quietly, subtly, like he was waiting for the moment I got overwhelmed. I was standing in the kitchen yesterday, just rinsing out a cup, and I felt it, that old familiar pressure in my chest, that voice, soft but sharp, going, you're not enough, you're going to mess this up. What if he gets worse while he's here? What if you can't help him? And that's Bob for you, the master of doubt, the whisperer of worst case scenarios. He wasn't attacking me, he was sowing seeds. And he almost had me until I realized something I hadn't really understood until now. I'm not alone anymore.
That's a game changer, mate. Because when you're alone, Bob's voice feels like truth. It's the only sound in the room. But when you've got someone else there, even if they're hurting too, you start to see Bob for what he is. Noise, background static, a broken tape you don't have to keep playing.
Exactly. And I realized the same way I'm going to hold space for Brett, he might actually hold space for me too, even if he doesn't realize it. Because sometimes helping someone else isn't about having all the answers. It's about being reminded that you've survived enough to guide someone else through it. So when Bob showed up with his usual fear-mongering, you'll fail him, you're still broken, you're not ready, I answered back. I don't need to be perfect, I just need to be here. That shut him up for a bit.
That's the part no one tells you. Sometimes supporting someone through their darkness actually strengthens you too. Not in a savior complex way, but because you're forced to confront your own progress, you realize, shit, maybe I'm not in the same place I was.
And that's what I've been sitting with today. Bob's still there. He probably always will be, but his voice isn't louder than my love for Brett. His fear isn't bigger than my willingness to show up. And that's growth, that's healing. That's me looking Bob dead in the eye and saying, not today, mate. You had your time. Now it's my turn to be the voice someone else needs.
That gives me chills, man, because that's the moment where you realize you've gone from survivor to guide. And not because you finished healing, but because you're still healing and you're still standing.
Yeah, and maybe that's all Brett needs. Not a therapist, not a miracle. Just someone who's still standing, even with Bob in the background. Someone who can say, yeah, I hear those voices too, but we don't listen to them anymore. And maybe, just maybe, Brett will start to believe it too. You know what I think gets overlooked in mental health stories? The quiet victories, the ones that don't make a big noise, the ones that don't come with applause or a breakthrough moment, just showing up. That's what this whole week has felt like. Waiting for Brett, preparing the space, managing my own head. And every day I wake up, every time I stop myself spiraling, every time I choose to breathe instead of panic, that's a win. It might not feel like a win. It might feel like just surviving. But trust me, that counts. Because survival when your brain wants to shut down, that's strength. Kindness when you're anxious, that's bravery. Compassion when you're tired, that's love.
You're describing what real progress looks like, mate. It's not always a lightning bolt. Sometimes it's making a coffee when you didn't want to get out of bed. Sometimes it's texting someone back instead of disappearing. Sometimes it's just remembering to breathe. And this? Opening your home to someone else in pain, even when you've still got your own scars? That's not small. That's massive.
You're right. And you know what else? It's not about being fearless. It's about doing it even though you're scared. I'm scared. I'm scared of messing up. I'm scared of not being enough. I'm scared that Brett will arrive and I'll freeze, or I'll fall back into my own darkness, or that I'll say the wrong thing and make it worse. But I'm still showing up. And that's where the healing is. Not in having all the answers, not in getting it right, but in standing in front of the fear and saying, I'm here anyway. That's the quiet victory. That's what this episode is really about. Because if you're listening right now, maybe you're not ready to fix your life. Maybe the big stuff still feels too big. But if you got up today, if you took one small step, if you reached out or didn't give up or even just listened to this, that's a win.
We've got to stop grading healing by speed. It's not a race, it's a rhythm. And every breath, every choice to stay is proof that you're doing the work, even when it doesn't look like it.
Exactly. And I want Brett to feel that when he gets here, I want him to see that this house doesn't run on perfection. It runs on love, on forgiveness, on understanding. And I want him to know he doesn't have to do anything impressive to belong here. He doesn't have to explain everything. He doesn't have to heal overnight. He just has to show up. And that'll be enough. So here we are, the end of the episode. But for me, the beginning of something new. Brett's still not here yet, but the bed's made. The couch is clear. The lights are soft. The coffee's ready. And most importantly, the door is open. And I keep thinking about how symbolic that is, because for years, decades even, my door was closed emotionally, physically, mentally. I shut people out. I kept the world at arm's length. I convinced myself I was too broken, too messy, too damaged to let anyone in. And now I'm standing at the same door I used to hide behind, and I'm leaving it open for him, for me, for us.
That image is everything, mate. It's not just a door, it's a statement. It says, you're allowed to be here. It says, you don't have to earn your right to be loved. It says, come in as you are. I've been waiting for you.
And that's what I want anyone listening to feel too, whether you're the one opening the door or the one standing outside unsure if you should knock. Just know this, you are worthy of being let in. You are not too far gone. You are not a burden. If you're sitting in pain right now, if you're afraid to reach out, let this episode be your sign. There's someone out there, maybe even just one person, who would gladly make space for you. And if you don't have that person yet, be that person for yourself. Open your own door. Let yourself come in. Let yourself rest.
And for those who are that safe place, the Scots of the world, remember, you're allowed to be scared. You're allowed to be tired. But what you're doing is changing lives. You're breaking cycles. You're showing love where shame used to live. And even if you feel like you're still healing, the fact that you're standing and opening the door anyway, that's everything.
Yeah, Brett doesn't even know how much this is going to change me too, because helping someone isn't one way. It teaches you. It heals you in places you didn't know were still bruised. So when he gets here, I won't have some big speech. I won't sit him down and give him a TED talk. I'll probably just say, hey bro, glad you're here. And that'll be enough, because the healing, it starts with presence. It starts with quiet. It starts with love. The kind of love that says, welcome home. You're safe now.
Before we wrap, let's leave you with some important numbers. If anything in today's episode brought up big feelings for you, or if you need someone to talk to, please reach out.
Lifeline 131114, suicide callback service 1300659467, Beyond Blue 1300224636, Men's Line Australia 1300789978, and for our First Nations brothers and sisters 13YARN, that's 139276.
Write those down, save them in your phone, share them with someone who might need them. You never know when they'll be the thing that keeps someone going.
And I also want to tell you about something that helped me personally, a platform called This Way Up. It's an online mental health program designed by St. Vincent's Hospital and the University of New South Wales. It's not just some app or random self-help site. It's legit. It's evidence-based, built by clinical professionals, and it changed the game for me when I was really struggling.
And the best part? You can do it privately, at your own pace, in your own space.
Exactly. I found it during a dark stretch, the kind of stretch where Bob was loud, sleep was rare, and the walls felt like they were closing in, and it helped me find just enough light to get through the worst parts. So please, check it out. thiswayup.org.au, because if you're looking for a place to start, that might just be it.
Until next time, be kind to yourself. And if you can't be kind, be honest, because honesty leads to healing.
And if no one's told you lately, I'm proud of you. The fact that you're still here, still listening, still trying, that means you haven't given up, and neither have I. The door's open, you're not alone. Let's keep walking this together.
Soul searching, fall apart, tunnel vision, hiding in the dark. Well, I ain't gonna holler before I really bleed. Salvation or quick fix remedy. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change. Damn right, never would. Leave the light on. Leave the light on. Just leave the light on. Yeah, leave the light on. If I'll ever change, of Nashville, Tennessee, while the cold here in Sweden got the best of me. Well, haven't I got better things to think about than that? Like deadlines, rent's due, bills pile up, family day in, day out, the clock's mocking me, getting old, oh God, the kids deserve so much more than this, gotta get rich. You said I never could change. I thought I never could change. They said I never could change.